Mi gente, I've got the perfect freebie for you. So I just dropped a 17-page workbook to help you get your mind right, especially in this climate of so much uncertainty. So if you are an aspiring or current entrepreneur and you're just feeling stuck, you're not feeling too good about what the future holds, and all the turmoil, the politics, all of it is just throwing you off your game, this workbook is actually going to act as a journal for you. It covers goal setting, efficiency tips, how to manage your time, financial management tips, strategies on how to wrap your head around the next big thing that's coming down the pipeline to bring you consistent revenue in your business. It covers what you should be doubling down on in terms of your well-being. And it is just my favorite jam-packed journal full of marketing and sales strategy to help you get clarity, but most importantly, to help you secure the big bag. So make sure to tap on the link in the show notes. I've linked it there so that you guys can get really clear on the top hacks that you can put into play in 2024 to set yourself up for success. I hope you love it.
We have to be willing to look in other places, go different places to find the people that need to be in your inner circle. The fact that we're geographically disconnected doesn't mean that we're not connected.
How you gonna flip it on me? This is
because I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss. I don't have any bochinche. If La Reina's not happy, ain't nobody happy.
Period.
When we were given breath to come into this world, we were also given our passion and our purpose to fulfill in life. It's going to take a lot of courage to push you out, but courage also adds to your happiness. You got to choose you. And in that moment, I chose myself. And by choosing me, I chose my future. We have to be comfortable in breaking those rules of expectations so to let our real power shine.
If they offer you the opportunity to connect and give you contact information and you do not follow up, that's like shame on you. Like you're giving the universe a signal that you really don't want it. Please, yes, say it,
No
please.
me joda con eso, right? No me joda.
What's up, mi gente? Welcome back to Banking on Cultura, where we discuss the vibrancy and complexity, honey, of Latino culture, business, and all the bonchinche in between. And today I have the honor of introducing you to a mentor of mine. She's kind of like my fairy godmother, really. She calls me at all the right times, and she is just a light in my life that I am so thankful and grateful for. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to share her with you, the community, because you're going to fall in love with her just as quickly as I did when we first met. So get into it. I'm going to do a brief intro so you guys can just understand the magnitude of the woman that is sitting next to me. So she is an award-winning entrepreneur, international keynote speaker, author, and is globally recognized as a career coach and professional development expert. She is the founder of the Power on Heels Fund, a nonprofit focused on minimizing the gender gap for Latinas that they face in the marketplace and to empower them to become their best advocate. And it's so interesting when I was reading her bio and I was like, how am I going to introduce this woman? Because to me, outside of the professional accolades, outside of her expertise, she is just one of the most beautiful human beings that I've had the pleasure of getting to know. And again, just really grateful to have her in my life. So without further ado, I introduce Miss Ivette Mayo to the community. What's up, mama?
Hey, amiga. Oh my God. My lashes are going to come off. Thank you for that introduction. But you have to understand it's easy to fall in love and continue to inspire and empower Victoria. She's a great mentee. She's a great listener. She's become una hermana de alma.
Thank you so much for that. And we promise this episode will not be an episode of us like bigging each other up, but I think that speaks to the relationship that we have and why it's so special. So we actually met in Texas, right?
Yes.
Hispanicize. I think they were having an event and I had the pleasure of being introduced to you by my girlfriend. She was like, you have to meet this woman. I think you guys are going to kick it off. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I met you and I was like, oh my God, like your energy was just so infectious. And immediately it felt like like a madrina. I was like, oh my God, yes, please take me under your wing. And I think that's how it happened.
Well, what's interesting is we did meet. Someone met you and then met me and then brought us together. But what was interesting is that we had a quick chat and I asked you to do like two things and you immediately did them. Like you immediately followed up. And one thing that happens a lot in our world is that people give you information and they want you to do something with it. And based on what you do, you get a little bit more. And in my space, I offer myself freely to a lot of people, but they don't follow up. Victoria, you were one of the few. Not only did you follow up, like in 24 hours, you already sent your email with task completed. And so I said, this girl's committed and determined. And I love that about you. And that's why I'm still here, because you continue to be committed and determined.
Oh my God. I didn't even remember that.
Yeah,
Do you remember what you asked me to do?
It was something like simply send me an email and let's set up an appointment. And it was just something like 2 or 3 simple tasks. And people take the little things, for granted. And you saw it as an opportunity and you reacted quickly. And so I wanted to nurture that. And I have to tell you, I've asked many people to send me emails and to connect and do something, and they never do. So here we are. How many years now?
Oh my God. I feel like almost 10 years.
Yes,
That's how I feel.
Yes. But yeah, I love it. No, but it's a continuation. We continue to build and build and build. So
Yes.
Here we are.
That is amazing. And I think that's a nugget for everyone. If you meet someone and you're inspired or motivated, or it's someone that you want to learn from, if they offer you the opportunity to connect and give you contact information and you do not follow up, that's like shame on you. Like you're giving the universe a signal that you really don't want it, right?
But I think what happens is naturally, culturally, we bring judgment into this space. Oh, they just said that. They didn't really mean it. Oh, she's just too busy. All of a sudden, you just start poo-pooing it away, and you don't realize that that opportunity is maybe leading you to other opportunities. That's the door that just opened so you can get in the building. And one thing that's happened is we've introduced each other to people. Our communities have connected. And yes, I live in Houston and you live in Jersey. So it doesn't mean that we're not a daily and a constant contact or connection to each other.
Mm-hmm. And what I really love about our relationship and appreciate is not only am I learning from like literally La Doña, like the best in the business, she's so strategic and so intentional and just such a great person to ideate with and brainstorm with. And what I love about our relationship is she asked me for advice too. Like she'll ask me like, hey, how do I do this? What do you think? And I think that's a really great example of how a relationship is supposed to work, especially like a mentor-mentee. I think we've moved beyond that. Now we're a family. But that is the benefit and the value add. And I think that even for folks who have a little bit more seasonality, being open to that kind of like peer mentorship and cross mentorship, even if you're at a different level, I think is key and what allows the relationship to like truly flourish, because we have things to learn from each other all the time, regardless of age, regardless of seniority. But I think we both were able to like showcase our value to one another, but it happened in such like an organic and authentic and raw way. We're also both Boricuas, so Avi.
But you know what I think, and maybe this is a conversation we have to have with ourselves, is I'm not a very trusting person, have not really been a trusting person, but I've had to become. Success has created or opportunities require for me to trust others. And that wasn't something that I did easily. And I don't know if that was, but I think that's one of the things that you were willing to do, because you were transitioning at the time when we met, if I recall. And
I was just starting.
Yeah. And you were moving into a whole different space that you were before. And then here I show up, and then we're talking, but you were very authentic in your needs and expressed where you were and what your challenges were. And that took trust. So trust is not something that has to go to a deep level, but if you really want to have people collaborate with you and work with you, there has to be that level of trust. And I want to tell you how simple trust is. You're in the big city and you are lost, and you will stop someone for direction and go, hey, where's 39th Street? And at that moment, you're trusting that person to tell you where you need to go. So you can trust even at a bare minimum to strangers. But what happens with that trust as you know someone, you get to see who they are and what they offer. You've got to be just as trusting with that person as that stranger that you're asking directions for. Trust is really critical. And I'm not saying you have to give them your children, your money, your passwords. No, you just have to give them the chance to tell you what they need to tell you. And you need to believe in that and do something with that.
I love that analogy. That's such a great example because I feel like a lot of people do struggle with trusting, especially showcasing vulnerability. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I have to be strong and I have to showcase like I have it all together.
Yeah.
But in those moments of vulnerability is when you're actually able to receive help,
Yeah,
right? And allow yourself to
and then the other component with trust comes doubt.
Yes.
Ay, Dios mío, la duda. La duda mata gente. Doubt kills people. You're not willing to do something with it. I'm giving you a treasure trove of stuff. And you're like, well, you know what? I'm not going to do that. That doesn't sound right. Or that might have worked. That might have worked back in the day, but not now. But the reality of it is business is still conducted between people. Yes, things are transactional online, but when business and collaboration really happens, it happens with people, not with tools and apps. It happens that way. And trust and doubt can't always be in the room.
Yes.
And then they have to alternate. So anyway.
Anywho, I feel like we can go on and on talking about our relationship. Like, I remember when I was having a hard time with this event that I was planning and you were like, oh, mija, you need help. You hopped on a plane, came to help me at the event, spoke at my event.
Oh, no, you jumped. We set up tables and chairs.
We set up tables, chairs. Like, you were so, so helpful and just came through for me in a way that I was like, oh my God, this woman is so special to my heart. And I was like, oh, I gotta keep her tight. My daddy, she always asked about daddy.
Papi.
And it's just a vibe. And I hope you guys find those relationships.
But I think this is one of the things that we, how shameful is that what I did was a rarity, right? That it stood out among so many, and you were surrounded by so many people you did know. And here was someone who was willing to do something that you hardly knew. Been there, done that. And, there's something that we have to do is that we have to be comfortable with asking for help and getting help. Because if it comes from an authentic place, then appreciate and gratitude that you do have these things. And that goes with things in life too, because there's a lot of people in your life that need to be gone. They're obstacles. They're not helping you move forward spiritually, mentally, in a relationship, professionally, however it is. They're holding up space. We have to be willing to look in other places, go different places to find the people that need to be in your inner circle. The fact that we're geographically disconnected doesn't mean that we're not connected.
Yes, absolutely. Because I will hop on a plane for you any day, baby. All right. So let's get this party started.
Okay, aquí estoy.
So what's the bonchinche? Give us some bonchinche.
I don't have bochinche.
Yes, you do, girl. Please. Every time we talk, you have bochinche. Cut it out.
Bochinche. I don't know. They're creative stories, maybe, but not. I don't know. I was just thinking about that. I was like, I don't have any bochinche today. I'm like, I lost. But do you have some bochinche?
How you gonna flip it on me? This is
because I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss. I don't have any bochinche.
Let me see. What's the latest bochinche? I just finished a juice cleanse.
Okay.
Which I'm really proud of myself because every time I do a juice cleanse, it is so hard and intense. But I love that I challenge my discipline. And now that I've concluded it, yesterday was my last day. And today, on my way to this interview, I got a juice.
Okay.
And so it's like, this is what happens. Like when you kind of switch things up, like you have the ability to always like set the tone. So really proud of myself for that.
Me too.
And looking forward, to continue this weight loss journey, honey, because you already know how difficult it is. But it's been a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful self-exploration journey and really forcing myself to like face myself. You know what I mean? And like look myself in the mirror and be like, yo, V, do you really want what you say you want? Okay, what you gonna do to get it? And that like trickles over to so many other facets of my life outside of just health. So I love this for me.
Well, I love it for you. And I love the fact that you are willing to face your truth.
Yeah.
Our own personal truth. And over time, it's changed. We all know that. But the fact that you want to get healthier and that you're trying to do different things about and for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lesson a lot of people need to learn.
Yeah.
Some people can go a lifetime and not do that. So kudos to you, amiga,
Yeah,
for
thank you.
for be focusing on you. And that's a lesson to the people who are listening as well too, because they have to understand is if you're not good, nobody's good. Because we have a saying at Casa Mayo, and that is, if la reina's not happy, ain't nobody happy.
Period. Mi gente, I've got the perfect freebie for you. So I just dropped a 17-page workbook to help you get your mind right, especially in this climate of so much uncertainty. So if you are an aspiring or current entrepreneur and you're just feeling stuck, you're not feeling too good about what the future holds, and all the turmoil, the politics, all of it is just throwing you off your game, this workbook is actually going to act as a journal for you. It covers goal setting, efficiency tips, how to manage your time, financial management tips, strategies on how to wrap your head around the next big thing that's coming down the pipeline to bring you consistent revenue in your business. It covers what you should be doubling down on in terms of your well-being, and it is just my favorite jam-packed journal full of marketing and sales strategy to help you get clarity, but most importantly, to help you secure the big bag. So make sure to tap on the link in the show notes. I've linked it there so that you guys can get really clear on the top hacks that you can put into play in 2024 to set yourself up for success. I hope you love it.
Punto. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. But why is that? Is because we're so giving, and you're always moving and you're going. If you're not right, and if you're not right with self, then we're willing to accept anything.
Yeah.
And we're not that kind of diva.
We sure ain't. We sure ain't.
Eso.
Oh my God, my heart is so full already and we haven't even gotten into the nitty gritty. Okay,
Dime.
So let's get into some more nitty gritty. So one of the things that I fell in love with when I was obsessed with everything Ivette Mayo when we first met, I got your book, by the way. Check it out. We're going to talk more about this amazing book. And I was like, ooh, power. Yes, that's my girl. Let's go. I want to know about power. And I read about your journey, and so much of your story I didn't expect. And I was like, wow, I did not know, she overcame all of this and became this beautiful woman that I get to see every day. So can you talk a little bit about your journey to becoming a power coach and how you've been able to reinvent yourself over the years?
Well, I'm going to start from just where I'm from. So I am the daughter of Ramon and Ana Siragusa, from a little town in Puerto Rico called Manatí. I left Puerto Rico when I was 6 years old. And my dad was in the military. So we lived all over the United States. And so just to also for the audience, not every Puerto Rican lives in New York City, right? So we'll just go ahead and just check that stereotype off. But the thing about it is that we lived in so many different places. And so I was the only daughter out of 4 children. I have 3 brothers. And so we Latino families have a double standard in the way they raise their sons and their daughters. And I was the dutiful daughter. There was just certain guidelines and things. And just remind you that my parents they are raising children in the United States and communities larger than they've ever seen. And they're from a small town. So they're raising us with their small Puerto Rican town mentality and, cultural differences. So for me, they were very strict. So again, being that dutiful daughter, did what I was expected to do, cultural norms, family norms, all of those things. Then I left their home and got married and became a dutiful wife, and then a dutiful employee and a dutiful mother. And, dutiful is meaning that you do what's expected of you in the roles and the responsibilities given to you, and that was me. And, the other side of me, the Virgo, the regimental side of me, the organized, being that and staying in those roles kind of just controlled my outcomes, meaning I was always out, giving out, but not taking in, because in duty you give. I found myself being married for 12 years, a marriage that did not go well at all. In reflection now, was it love or lust? And I think it was more lust than love, right? The inexperience of life just, puts you in that space. But I realized that I was probably in the marriage way longer than I needed to be. It ended very badly. And I kept thinking in my head is, how did I work so hard to make all of this work? And I find myself a victim of domestic violence. How? And then I realized that that was not my role. It was never supposed to be my role, but I fell in that role because of duty and culture and mindsets. And I realized that I was everything to everyone else. So I was in this mindset of doing everything for everyone else, filling in those responsibilities, but I wasn't centered on myself. I wasn't doing the things that I wanted to do or expected from myself. My dreams, my goals, my ideas didn't really matter because who I was giving to and expected from me, I was fulfilling that. There's emptiness in that. And there's a lot of loneliness in that space as well. Because, when we were given breath to come into this world, we were also given our passion and our purpose to fulfill in life. And you know that you're in that space because you can feel it, because you can feel good about it. And it just lifts you up in a way that you're not even always familiar with. But here I am, in a place where I was empty and giving and giving. And so finally got divorced and moved into a space for the first time at the age of 35 years of age. And the reason I'm giving my age out is because we always think that dreams and ideas are for the young people who have drive. And there's people who are in spaces such as work or in relationships, they're just settling. They're not moving in that space. And at the age of 35, I took on a lot of change, but I also made that decision for myself. And I know that took a lot of courage. So for those who are in positions where they're just not happy, it's going to take a lot of courage to push you out. But courage also adds to your happiness. So keep those words connected. Mm-hmm. So I found myself in a wonderful career, making more money than I ever expected. I was outperforming everybody in my company at the time. I had 2 amazing daughters that were thriving because they were in a home that was happy, and everything that I thought was going to fail turned around because I took up that step of courage. And I got involved in the professional development field.
Can I pause you real quick? Because this is a significant part of your story. And I think what makes you so powerful and your ability to help people see the power that exists within them. This courage piece. You were in a marriage, verbally, physically assaulted, abused. Like, what was the turning point? What was the shift that you were like, all right, I'm done? Like, where did the courage come from?
Well, it's funny when someone tells you that you're not this, you're this, you're that. And you, in your mind, you're saying, no, I'm not that. And I think it was just this billowing, it was just kind of like that last grain of salt that just tipped the scales. But I think what happened is again, worked in a marriage that that I personally put everything I had into it. And I was getting nothing back. And so this particular one time, and I know it sounds crazy, it sounds cliche, but it just took this one time for somebody to come home and decide that your life wasn't significant enough, that you shouldn't exist, right? And at that point, it wasn't about me. It was what I wanted my children's narrative to be too. At that point, survival mode came in. It's like, no, this is not what I accept. This is not the way my story is going to end. Mm-hmm. It was not. And in fact, this is the beginning of something new. And yes, I did things within a short period of time that I even surprised myself. But the best part about it is getting out of something that hurts you, doesn't build you up. If anything, takes from you and gives you nothing in return. And we can't let those traditional mindsets, like I'm doing it for the kids or I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. You got to choose you. And in that moment, I chose myself. And by choosing me, I chose my future. And that was more important to me than letting anybody do anything more to me in that situation.
You also had a friend that helped you, that looked out. And I think we all need this kind of friend in our lives. So can you talk about how she helped you?
Well, she had been witnessing this scenario for quite some time. And as a friend, she helped. She was like a second mother to my children. And she was my community. She was my go-to. And, did all the legal matters, did everything. And then I realized what an attorney was going to cost. And it wasn't how was I going to pay for it, but I just needed to pay for it. I got to her and I told her what was happening that day because she was bugging me all day, checking in with me. And I went to her house and she said to me, what's going on? And I explained to her. She handed me a blank check. and she says there's X amount of money in that account, and take some of it, all of it, but don't let money keep you from staying in this space. She made a sacrifice. Our friendship and me mattered to her. And at that moment where I was choosing me and courage was what I was holding on to, she took away the biggest challenge at that moment for me. That meant the world to me. It has led me to where I am right now. That simple blank check.
I love that. I love that. So fast forward, you decided to leave. Your friend blessed you and you skyrocketed from there. Career amazing, kids are blossoming, life is fabulous. You entered the professional development space. Take us from there.
Well, and there's a lot going on, but I want to kind of add something too, because in that space, maybe about within 2 years of that moment, that difficult moment, I found someone to love and someone who loved me. But most importantly, as I said in my prayers, was I wanted someone perfect for me that loved me the way I needed to be loved and accepted me as I was. So loved me for who I was. And somebody came in. But what's amazing is 25 years later, it's still just as amazing because we got married. So even when you think it'll never happen, it will happen, even after the worst scenarios. So it goes back to having people in your corner who supported you. So I moved into the professional development space, as you stated. I got involved in what I believe to be my purpose, to be a teacher, to hear people get information from you, and then all of a sudden they go, they inhale. That was always my cha-ching. When that meant to me that they just received something that was going to help them propel their career, to help them personally, professionally, whatever it was. They received something that was going to change them when they went. So I did that, and then moved into my own entrepreneurial space, created my own consulting firm, working on diversity and professional development with a cultural twist. And I found myself going to training rooms and still seeing only white men in the room. And I realized that in corporate America, there were structural biases in terms of how they even developed their leadership. You had to be a certain level of leadership to have access to leadership training. They didn't do anything to create a strategic plan or growth strategy for future leaders. They weren't creating leadership funnels. And I found that most of the time, people of color, especially Latinas or women of color, we weren't having access to that training. So I started working with organizations around the country to help develop leaders within communities. I've worked with Alpha. I've worked with ASE out of Chicago. I've worked with different organizations to help bring that leadership into space. And I associate a lot of what I do with the word power, because we all have personal power. We have strengths that we give away, but we have strengths that we have to develop. You have to strengthen your power. So power is a big word for me, because I tell women all the time is that we give our power away with little things. We have to learn to capture that so we don't give it away at our big things. Quick example. Honey, what do you want for dinner? Oh, I don't know. Whatever you want. And you do that with ease. And before you know it, you're eating Chinese and Italian, 5 times a week because that's what they like. But the reality is that simple giveaway becomes harder, because when you have to make a real important decision, you haven't worked that muscle enough to know that you're making an important decision. You let others make important decisions for you.
You talk a lot about this power, and I think power is like this energy, this aura, this essence.
Who we are.
Talk to us about, your theme around this power. Like what does it truly mean? Like if you came across someone and you started speaking to them about their power, like what would you pour into them?
I think your power is recognizing your strengths, who you are. We know some people who are kind. We know people who are introverted, extroverted. They understand technology. Everybody has a power, but everybody has this unique energy that they give, right? And when they get it back, they give even more. Right. And I think one of the things that we have to realize is, but our power comes in different ways too. Our energy also comes from our truth, our words, right? You hear it all the time, say what you are. And I think one of the things that we do is that we get caught up in our duties and our roles. We forget who we are, and we don't share our power fully because we're doing what's expected of us. And I think that for us to be successful, we have to be comfortable in breaking those norms of expectations. Because, it's like traditions. We have amazing traditions, but remember, traditions were created by people in a different time under different situations, right? So they teach us a story or a belief, but what we do is we mimic the behavior, and that behavior doesn't apply. The belief does, but not the behavior. So how do we break that? So I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to be comfortable in breaking those rules of expectations. So to let our real power shine, our real essence, authentically ourselves.
Mm-hmm. One of, here on Banking on Cultura, we're all about getting comfortable in your own skin, owning your Latinidad, embracing your power, and releasing it out to the world. For a lot of people, that's really difficult because they've been preconditioned to believe they need to look, they need to talk, they need to sound, they need to do all these things to be successful except be themselves. So what is your advice for people who are yearning for this type of power? Like they want to break free, they want to break some rules, they want to color outside the lines. What is your advice to them to get this party started so they can live more freely?
Well, I think what happens is the word multicultural means that you're learning multiple behaviors from different communities and you're learning to survive in each one of those. I came from Puerto Rico and went to Norfolk, Virginia. What did I know? I was 6 years old. I had to adapt. Different culture. We do that when we go from high school to college, from college into the corporate space or into other learning institutions. Each one of those communities has a different culture that you have to learn how we do things. But I think one of the things is that you also do things slightly different. So why not begin to have the confidence to introduce those things into situations, give a different perspective? They hire us because we're people that represent a community different than the community that they are currently serving. Why? Because we bring new ideas. That's called innovation in our world, right? That's how it translates. Don't be afraid of bringing innovation into the community. That's why you are there. If you're not using your power, if you're not sharing and you're not influencing the outcomes, then you're not doing what's good for you and good for everyone else. We can't hold back. In our culture, we talk about being quiet. Don't bring attention to ourselves. That 1960s segregation mentality doesn't serve us anymore because the communities that are unlike ours, they use silence as a weapon against us because they know we're going to be quiet. We're just going to get along. We have to feel comfortable in raising our hand and saying, hey, can we consider something different this time? I like to offer an idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Simply say something like that. So that way you can table an idea and influence it. Even if you move the needle 2 steps near you, you've moved it. Now you can continue to move it because they've accepted it and now they are comfortable with it. Silence is something that is used against us, but we use it against ourselves. We are afraid to speak up. There's that word courage again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have to have the courage to create change.
I think one of the main takeaways from your book, by the way, A 30-Day Guide to Your Power, Powerful Outcomes Through Powerful Words by Ivette Mayo. Go get you it. It is thebomb.com, because one of the ways that I think people can really start this journey of courage and speaking up, you have this section in the book called not affirmations, but I-firmations. Talk to us a little bit about why I-firmations are critical and so important.
So the book starts with the very first quote. It says, "Know thyself," by Socrates. This was said thousands and thousands of years ago by a man. But these words are so important for us to know and to accept. Why? Because in order for you to change the world around you, you have to know your own strengths and you have to know your own weaknesses. I shared with you that I was that dutiful daughter. And everybody used to tell me I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. But you know what? I'm a creative. I'm an organized extrovert. I love color. I'm a helper. I can think of a whole list of things that I am. But those things, I'm a leader. I'm a leader. I'm a philanthropist. I'm CEO of a company.
You're a MILF.
Excuse me. I have 5 companies. I don't have one. I don't have 2. And I've written a book, but no one told me I was those things or could be those things.
Right.
So people spoke to me what expectations to me my whole life. I was too dark. I was too tall. I even was told I was too pretty at times. Oh my God.
Goodness. All the time. It's crazy.
I just, I would say something very, but.
Please, yes, say it,
no
please.
Me joda con eso, right? No me joda. Why is that crazy? So my whole life I spent fulfilling those rules, those compartments. Mm-hmm. And some of you may feel that way too. But the thing about it is that I got to a point in my life that I was redefining who I was. I had to realize who I was, what were my strengths. And I spoke power to truth. I spoke my power. I was no longer letting someone's ideas of me shape me and my future. That was done. Se acabó. Ya, pa fuera.
We're done.
Right? But the thing about it was at that moment, I started writing like a journal, started writing things. And I started telling myself things that I found true within myself, that I wanted to believe and just inspire in myself. I was no longer using someone else's words to define me. I was using my words to define me.
Mi gente, I've got the perfect freebie for you. So I just dropped a 17-page workbook to help you get your mind right, especially in this climate of so much uncertainty. So if you are an aspiring or current entrepreneur and you're just feeling stuck, you're not feeling too good about what the future holds, and all the turmoil, the politics, all of it is just throwing you off your game, this workbook is actually going to act as a journal for you. It covers goal setting, efficiency tips, how to manage your time, financial management tips, strategies on how to wrap your head around the next big thing that's coming down the pipeline to bring you consistent revenue in your business. It covers what you should be doubling down on in terms of your well-being. And it is just my favorite jam-packed journal full of marketing and sales strategy to help you get clarity, but most importantly, to help you secure the big bag. So make sure to tap on the link in the show notes. I've linked it there so that you guys can get really clear on the top hacks that you can put into play in 2024 to set yourself up for success. I hope you love it.
Mm-hmm. And so I started creating this thing called affirmations. Instead of saying, I am powerful, I created a statement to say why I believe I was powerful and use those words to continue to inspire me. So it was myself inspiring my self-truth. Mm-hmm. So affirmations is the product of that. Now, this is the teacher in me now, is that you must do something 30 days consecutively for that habit to continue or discontinue. Smoking. You got to do it for, somebody starts and stops in a week. No, you didn't do it long enough to break the habit. You have to do this for 30 days. That's how the human behavioral system is changed. So that's why it's a 30-day guide. If I can get you to do this for 30 days, this will be a continuum of you empowering you.
Interesting. I did not know that that's why it's called a 30-day guide. Interesting.
Ya sabe.
I didn't know that fun fact. Thank you so much. Okay, so so after you go through the book and you have frameworks that you put in here, which I think are super amazing, we learn more about your story, and then it gets into, you're kind of journaling throughout the entire book, really.
Yes.
And taking notes. I know I did. So towards the back of the book, you have put in here, which I love so much, and I actually have it written. So for those of you watching, this is real, okay? It's 30-day journal of affirmations, and it's all about power mantras. And one of my faves was day 6. So you have each day you're listing kind of like your 30 days. So on day 6, I was doing the affirmation, I am diamond.
Oh my gosh.
So talk to us about what is I am diamond, and then I'm going to read what I wrote.
Okay. Well, the 30-day guide, and when you do this, is I actually give you 30 different affirmations to start with, and then I give you an example of an affirmation to inspire your thoughts. So thank you so much for doing the work. You see, you have to be willing to work to create change to build success. You see that? You see how that works? So then here is an example of one of those, day 6 in this case, which is I am diamond. This is what I wrote to inspire. And then Victoria, then you'll share yours?
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. Okay. I am diamond. I have been created under extreme temperatures and pressures. You may not see my imperfections that lie deep below my surface. They do not define me, but rather inspire me. The things that are inside of me have no effect on my beauty or brilliance. Each element that I have endured has made me distinctive in color, size, and blemishes. I have handled pressure exceptionally well. I am uniquely beautiful and priceless. And each day I choose to shine brightly. I am diamond.
That is beautiful. That is not how I did it. But I use yours as a guide because it really was different statements that I wrote for the I am diamond process. So this is a tough act to follow because you saw how beautiful that was. But really what came to mind when I was doing this, I wrote, I am diamond and precious. I am diamond and in high demand. I am diamond and love. I am diamond and highly favored. I am diamond and beautiful. I am diamond and powerful. I am diamond in the rough. Come and find me. I am diamond. See me shine. That is what I wrote.
I love it.
And this one in particular just stood out to me, because who doesn't love diamonds? But I don't know. It just really like spoke to me because I truly, throughout my entire career, it was always told to me like, Victoria, you're amazing, but don't shine so bright. Mm-hmm. Simmer down, dim that down. So this one really spoke to me because a diamond sparkles. Yeah. A diamond is unapologetically shining in your face.
And everybody wants it.
And everybody wants it. Exactly. That's why it spoke to me.
But one of the things is that this is speaking your truth to power. These are your words inspiring you. Forget what everybody else thinks. I mean, put that aside. Lift yourself up through your own words. We depend on so many others to do it for us. Listen, no one told me I was beautiful. In fact, people used to tell me my skin was too dark. I had a tia who wanted to put bleach on my skin. I thought my skin color was gray, not brown. Just all these different things that, your hair is this. When I decided to go white in my hair, people say, oh, te vas a ver vieja. Everybody just always has an opinion. But those are their beliefs, not yours. And if they're negative, then you become negative. It's time to break this cycle. We all are diamonds. We have to feel comfortable and shining so brightly that we blind people.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love it so much. So let's go into our Talk That Talk segment.
Oh, I love it.
And we spoke on this a little bit. You mentioned about, we're taught to be quiet and how this is now being weaponized against us. And, in the Cultura, especially for Latinas, it is almost taught to us to cógelo con take it easy. Mm-hmm. Suave.
Yeah.
Suave, right? What was the saying that you...
El dicho. We all have our sayings. Calladita te ves más bonita. Oh my God, I want to blow that up with dynamite.
Yes. And for those who are Spanglish fluent, translate.
That is, you're prettier if you're quiet.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And what's up with that?
Well, think about it. Is that, again, that don't bring attention to yourself. We'll take, there's another one. Ropa sucia se lava en la casa, no en la calle. Dirty clothes is not washed in the street. It's washed at home. Those things is because they want us to handle things outside of our, outside the public. But the reality of it is that you get home and nobody handles it. It's just, ay, cállate, forget it. I don't want to talk about it. Or no one's equipped to even handle the problem. So they hope that it just go away. And then when we talk about celebration too, oh, I got an award, and ay, cállate, por favor, don't tell people, it's always be quiet, don't handle it. So the thing about it is that we've accepted our quietness as a survival skill, whether at home or whether at work. And now when you say something, you're a problem. You're aggressive. you're this. All these adjectives come out, and I just spoke my mind. So that's one of the things, that's what I meant by weaponize. It's so expected of us to be quiet that when we say something, we're being disruptive. And I'm saying, choose disruptive.
Mm-hmm. I like to call it smart disruption. It's easier for people to digest a little bit. But yeah, I'm all about that life. And one of the things that came up in our prep conversation was around why Boricuas in particular are so passionate about showcasing our flag. Can you talk to us about that? Because I see the connection between like us being quiet, us like chilling with how we were colonized. So can you make that connection for us?
Well, historical. You have to take history. Now, I have to apologize. I don't know the exact year or dates. But once the U.S. took over the Puerto Rican colony of Puerto Rico, Cuba, we were forbidden by law to display our flag. We were forbidden by law to even sing our national anthem. And if you had even a faded found, you went to jail. You were jailed. And that went on into the 20th century. I want to say 1950 or 1960, the Puerto Rican flag for the first time was allowed to fly next to the American flag. It was finally recognized. So, Puerto Ricanos, we put the flag on everything. Our tennis shoes, it's in our car. It's on proud display because part of our history denied us the ability to do that. That didn't happen anywhere else in colonization, but it happened to us. And this is something my grandparents lived through. So it wasn't that long ago that this was our history.
And it's so interesting that happened. And we also, it's like almost like it was so strategic. Like, let's figure out a way to like calm them down. Let's figure out a way to like dim them down. Let's figure out a way to strip them of their cultura, to strip them of their pride, to strip them of their power so that we will continue to run things as we wish. And the hierarchy will remain the same.
The hierarchy will continue and it will be in control. Yeah. And that's the word that we're talking about, control, and relationships as well. All of these things. When you are forced to be silent, forced to follow rules, to fall in place, those are levels of control. This is a conversation today. We've allowed ourselves as women of color, a culture, a community, to be silenced, to fall into place. And then when we show that vibrancy, the color of culture and community, we're over the top now. We're too much. But most importantly, the underlying undertone of that is we're out of control. Whose control? So it's all tied together as a community, as women, as men, as society.
Woo, that was a heavy one. And it's so interesting. And one of my objectives with this podcast is to teach our history because it explains so much of our identity today and how we show up as a community and how we collaborate and how we build relationships or lack thereof and how we show up at work and how we show up in our relationships, in our businesses. It's so critical to know why we are showing up this way. Right? Because then we can figure out how to like shift the behavior by doing our affirmations and getting our 30-day journal to get it together.
And we're creating a new belief system is what we're doing. The thing about it is we're like onions. We create layers of information. I think what's important is I like to call them compartments because you can just like a drawer or something, you could pull out what you need, use it, and then put it back and close the drawer. The things that we're learning are helping us survive in communities such as educational forums, corporate forums, nonprofit forums, governmental forums. We have to understand that we have to behave differently. So let me give you a place where we need to shift and beliefs need to change. And if you're listening, please share this, okay? This conversation is why aren't we doing the same thing with politics? I know that we've come from cultures and communities where the systems are slanted. We don't have belief in the voting systems. But now you are here in the United States of America, right? There are more Latinos than any other. We're the largest community in today's America's demographic. We are growing by leaps and bounds, right? We have political and economic power, but we're not using both of them or either one to our fullest potential. Laws are changing. They're changing against us, but yet we're not registered voters, and the ones who are registered are not voting. See, the minute we realize the power in the vote, the minute the laws change, and the better positions we will become, not only as people of color, but as women as well. And when you think about it, it was 1970, like 1976, that a woman couldn't even have a checking account by herself. Yet she had the power to vote. And we, since then, have done very little to give women power. But voting can change that. We're in an election year, and our belief systems have to change. But most importantly, our actions have to change. And the more we let others control the political and the economic system, we will continue to be considered secondary citizens or not worthy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a whole other podcast episode that we can do on the politics and
but we're talking
how we
about
show
power.
up. But yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you and am aligned with that, to your point of breaking old belief systems and building new ones and committing to those new beliefs, even though it may be really comfortable to kind of go back to, like, you know, the
but you
old
can always
beliefs.
go back.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Vamos.
let's tell the people more about Power on Heels, and then let's tell them where they can find you and all that.
Well, two things real quick. So one of the things that I wanted to say is that in the position of power, before we change the subject real quick, I wanted to say is that you have the power. And what I would really want people to do as a good takeaway is to consider creating an assessment of themselves. Create, what's that vision? Where do I want to be? What job do I want? And create a plan on what you need, whether it's education, a training, whatever 10 steps you think you need to take to get there, right? Then what I would love them to do is to also create a list of people that could assist them in those areas. Start reaching out and creating that power structure around you, right? Because it becomes their goal too, to help you achieve that, right? Why is that important is because when you're working towards your goal and every time you achieve that, your power increases, your courage increases. When you see that one step closer to that goal, and that's one of the things we have to do. We have to build things in ourselves and our communities for ourselves to help us grow. All right. And that's where that trust and that courage comes in. So the reason I wanted to say that is as we transition into the conversation of Power on Heels was a nonprofit that I decided to create, specifically training topics on personal leadership, emotional intelligence, and financial mastery with a Latina perspective, adding these cultural components and belief systems into it so you can see why you're not moving ahead, because there may be a hurdle in front of you, and a lot of it is your belief. We help women build economic wealth for themselves and their families. Because if you change the life or the economic life of a Latina, you change her family and the generations to come, but also the communities they serve. They prosper as well. So building us up as a community is what Power on Heels is, helping every Latina become her own best advocate and defining her power and her strengths wherever she serves. And that's so important to build that courage and that confidence in these women. As you say, there's badassery in our DNA.
Yes.
I love that.
They're full of badassery.
But we're not giving it away. We're not sharing it. We're not shining like diamonds. And that's what we are focused on doing. We do professional development training. We're not a big networking event. We do fundraising. And so if anyone is interested, Power on Heels, Power on Heels Fund, FUND.org, or find us on social media at Power on Heels F, the letter F. It's important for you to not only share what we're doing, but participate, because we do a lot of our programming also virtually.
I love it. And where else can people find more information about Miss Ivette Mayo?
Well, Ivette Mayo, you can go to Yo Soy I Am. cultivate.com. And you can follow me on also LinkedIn, on all social media platforms under Ivette _Mayo.
Well, listen, mujer, mi amor, mi corazón. I appreciate you so much for being here.
Oh, you know I love you, girl.
I love you even more.
I got on a plane.
I know you did. You got on another plane to come here and film in the studio, and your boo thing is outside the studio waiting patiently. He is the bomb, and I am just so grateful and thankful for you being here, and I hope you guys have gotten a lot out of this episode. As always, we love, love, love your feedback. So make sure to put your comments. Let us know if you are going to journal now and do some more affirmations. Make sure to subscribe, all that jazz, and check in with Ivette. Grab her book. We'll put it in the show notes. I appreciate you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode. Mi gente, I need your help. Look, the real game behind podcasts is we need to really understand our demo, aka you, our audience, so that when we go out to sponsors who help us put on this amazing show and deliver this content to you, that they can clearly understand who we serve and what is significant to you and what you value. And the only way for us to get that information is for you to give it to us. So we just created this survey. I'll put it in the show notes. It will take you less than 3 minutes, literally, but it will be so helpful for us to get a better understanding of what it is that you care about, what's important to you, what do you value, so that when we're out in these streets trying to secure the big bag and get sponsors for this show, they know exactly who our audience is and what you care about. So we can bring you the best products, we can bring you the best organizations that are out here serving the cultura, the community, you. So please take a moment and fill out the survey. I'll link it in the show notes. Appreciate you. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, I'm pretty sure you're gonna love the next one. So make sure to click right here and tap into the next episode.